The Town of Innisfail. Town of Innisfail acknowledges that we are meeting on Treaty 7 territory, the ancestral and traditional territory of the Blackfoot Confederacy, Kainai, Piikani, Siksika, as well as Tsuut'ina First Nation and Stoney Nakoda First Nation. We acknowledge that this territory is home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3, within the historical Northwest Métis homeland. We acknowledge the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit who have lived in and cared for these lands for generations. We are grateful for the traditional knowledge keepers and elders who are still with us today and those who have gone before us. We make this acknowledgement as an act of reconciliation and gratitude to those whose territory we reside on. So we'll move into 2.1. Any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Only adjustment, Mayor Barkley, if we could move 6.1 to right after your minutes.
Sure. Okay, and we're also going to delete 4.1, the community awareness. We'll wait for Councillor Maceres to be with us to discuss that. Okay, could I please have someone make a motion?
Mayor Barkley, I'll make that motion.
Okay, make a motion to accept the agendas as amended. Thank you. All in favor? Okay, and I will please ask Director Vickers then please to introduce our auditors.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. So each year we are required to have our financials audited, and we do choose the firm BDO. They came into the office between February 28th and March 2nd, along with some work outside of the office. It has been completed and is presented for your review. And we do have Mitch and Stephen from BDO here, and they are going to present the audited financials for you.
Welcome.
Hey, everybody. Whoa. Okay. Thanks for having us here today. If you guys could start on the independent auditors report on the second page there, I'll quickly go through that. So for the 2021 fiscal period, we have audited the consolidated financial statements of the town of Innisfail. We are issuing you guys a clean audit opinion, which means we feel that the financial statements are free from any material misstatements. It's the same opinion we give you guys every year. We conduct our audit in accordance to GAAP, which is Canadian generally accepted auditing standards. With these financial statements here before you, management is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of these consolidated statements. In preparing the consolidated financial statements, management is also responsible for assessing the municipality's ability to continue operating. As auditors, our objective is to obtain reasonable assurance over whether or not these financial statements as a whole are free from material misstatement. And the ways we do that is we identify and assess risk of material misstatement. We obtain audit evidence that is sufficient and appropriate to the basis of our opinion. We obtain an understanding of internal controls which are relevant to the audit. We evaluate the appropriateness of accounting policies used. We also conclude on the appropriateness of management's use of the going concern basis of accounting. We'll also evaluate the overall presentation, structure, and content that are within these financial statements. And we will obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence in our findings for the financial statements, which allows us to issue the audit report that you see before you. Do you guys have any questions on the audit report? Okay. I'm going to have Steve run through the financial statements, at which point he'll revert it back to me, and then I'll run you guys through some of the notes.
Okay, I'm going to start off with the consolidated statement of financial position, which is essentially your balance sheet. So starting off with financial assets, we have cash and cash equivalents. It's about $18.8 million. This is up a little bit, and that's because if you look down at short-term investments, in the 2020 year, we had about $2.6 million of GICs. These were since redeemed, and now they are included in cash and cash equivalents. There's a little bit left in short-term investments, and that's just from the library, which was consolidated in. Then we have taxes receivable and accounts receivable. They haven't changed significantly from the prior year. And then we have land held for resale. This jumped up about $5.6 million, then dropped down a little bit since you sold some land. The increase here was due to the sewage lagoon, which is actually offset by the tangible capital assets. If you look at the 2020 column, we have $90.9 million in tangible capital assets. This has since been reduced in 2021 to $85.5 million, as that sewage lagoon reclamation work was in capital work in progress and subsequently got adjusted out into land held for resale. Moving down to liabilities, we have accounts payable and accrued liabilities, along with the employee benefit obligation and deposit liabilities. These again haven't changed significantly from last year. We also have deferred revenue, and that's up from $2.4 million to $2.5 million. These are really just your grants that you've received but can't yet recognize into revenue. And so you end up with net financial assets of $27.7 million. Then we have non-financial assets of tangible capital assets for 85.5 and some prepaid expenses as well. Then moving on to the statement or the consolidated statement of operations. Really what we're looking at here is our 2021 budget column to actual column. And so if you look, we have $18.5 million budgeted for revenues, and we came in with 18.8 million. And so you're up a little bit there. And then if we're looking down at our expenditures, you budgeted for $20.8 million of expenditures, and we're up to almost $3 million of expenditures. So you're also up a little bit there. Then we also have our government transfers for capital, and you budgeted for $3 million and you came in at just under $3.6 million. All this comes out to a net excess of revenues over expenditures of $1.1 million. Then moving on to our consolidated statement of change in net financial assets. Here we start with our excess of revenues over expenditures of $1.1 million. We take out our acquisition of tangible capital assets of 4.9. We add back in our amortization of tangible capital assets of 3.8. And we take out our net loss on our sale of TCA or tangible capital assets. Then we take out anything else that doesn't relate to our net financial assets. And we come out to our net financial assets at the end of the year of 27.7 million. And that is the same number that we saw on our balance sheet 2 pages prior. Then finally, we come to our consolidated statement of cash flows. Same thing here. We're starting with our excess of revenues over expenditures of $1.1 million. Then we take out our non-cash transactions. So that's your amortization and your loss on disposal of tangible capital assets of $800,000. And then we talk about our changes in non-cash operating balances. And so if you look at taxes receivable on the balance sheet, you'll notice when you're comparing the current year to the prior year, there's going to be a change of $93,000. And that's the same for all of these balances. These are just the changes that are reflective on that balance or on the balance sheet. And then we have to account for our capital transactions. So in the year you bought $4.9 million of tangible capital assets. We redeemed some investments for 2.5. And then we also had an increase in a change in our restricted cash balances of about $1 million. And so that gives you a net change in your cash balance of just under $3.1 million. So if you compare that to the cash you had at the beginning of the year, and then you add in that 3.1 million, you come out to the cash we have at the end of the year. And that's it for our financials.
Do any of you guys have any questions on those last 4 pages? Okay. If you guys could go to page 10, I'll start running you guys through some of the notes on the financial statements. So that'll be page number 10. It might not necessarily be the page 10 on the bookmarks. Yeah. So your current cash at the end of the year, and so remember, this is a snapshot as at December 31st, 2021. Your ending cash balance was about $18.8 million. Of that total balance, you have approximately $2.5 million, which is restricted, meaning that it's currently set aside for future use for other projects that you guys have determined for it to be used for. So of your current cash balance, it's up about $4 million. And as Steve said earlier, it's just mainly to the recognizing of the GIC that matured in the prior year. If you guys want to go to the next page, we can kind of give you guys a snapshot of what your land held for resale actually looks like. And so you can see the sewage lagoon there makes up about the $5 million there. And then you have the Hazelwood Estates, Napoleon Meadows, and then you have other land that's held for resale at $2.4 million. If you want to go to the next page, and we can start talking about the deferred revenue. So your deferred revenue at the beginning of the year was $2.4 million. Most of the movement that happens in this account is in relation to your capital and operating grants. So in the year, you guys had received about $5 million in grants. Of the 2.4, which is your opening balance, plus the contributions received of the $5 million, you guys have recognized about $4.9 million of the total grants, leaving you with an ending balance of about $2.5 million. Okay, if I can have you turn to page 17, I'll run you guys through your accumulated surplus. So as at the end of the year here, you have your accumulated surplus is essentially made up of three main categories: your unrestricted surplus, your restricted surplus. Your restricted surplus is what you guys set aside for future projects or potential liabilities down the road. And then there's your equity in TCA. So in your restricted surplus, you currently have about $1.6 million set aside, you have an addition of $1.6 million for the 2021 period, leaving you with an ending balance in your restricted reserves of $18.9 million. If you refer back to the balance sheet, you guys had about $18.8 million in cash, and you had about $3.8 million in receivable, which means that your reserves are currently funded, which is a good thing. And then you have about $8.8 million in unrestricted amounts, which you can use for operational purposes, or if you decide to later down the road, you can then transfer your unrestricted amounts to future projects, at which point they would adjust through your restricted reserve. Then I'll have you turn to the next page, which is your debt limits. So your debt limits are calculated through a formula from the Municipal Government Act. Basically, all it does is it takes your operating revenue from your income statement, and then it applies a multiplier to it of 1.5. So your total debt limit is going to fluctuate depending on what your operating revenue is for the year. And then there's the debt servicing limit. So the debt servicing limit is also calculated using your operating revenue. The only difference is it uses a formula of 0.25 as opposed to the 1.5. Now, what the total debt limit means is this is the total amount of debt if the town, if so decides to take out loans, is the recommended amount under the Municipal Government Act. It's not a hard number. You can theoretically go beyond that threshold, but it's the amount recommended under the MGA. Right now, you guys don't have any debt. So for the debt servicing limit, the debt servicing limit basically says this is the amount of debt that you should be servicing in a year, meaning that this is the amount that you should be paying for long-term debt as an absolute maximum. But once again, these aren't hard numbers. They're recommended numbers based off of the MGA. So your debt servicing limit is $4.7 million. And then the last note that I want to refer you to is note 17, which is on page 20. This is your expense by object. So earlier when we went through your income statement, it was a snapshot of what your aggregate expenses look like by department. You'll notice that the total expense dollar value will agree to your total expense amount on your income statement. The difference between the expense by object and department is this just tells you what exactly your expenses are for the 2021 fiscal period. And then the income statement will show it kind of broken out by department. And that's my spiel. I don't know if you guys have any questions at all.
Okay, thank you. Anyone have any questions? Counselor Heisted?
Yeah, just from my experience, I just want to congratulate Erica and your staff for the work that you've done with BDO.
Yeah.
BDO, right? So I see
Yeah.
BDO on the side. Hopefully it's the right company. No, it says a lot. I think in my view, it says a lot about our leadership on our financial end and the CEO level as well. So, and I think that many municipalities would like to be in our situation right now. So I just think it's really important that if anything's communicated, it's positive. You know, it's a good news story for us, and there's a lot more that work for us to do, I guess, in the future. And so, thanks.
And if I may add to that, Erica, she knows her stuff. She's very easy to work with, and I really appreciate her spending the time working with us. And Todd's easy to get a hold of and talk to as well. So once again, like, you guys are a great municipality to work for. So I appreciate that. So.
Anyone else? Okay, I guess no questions. If we do, we know who to send them to, right? Director Vickers? But yeah, thank you very much. It was always good to get a clean report and a clean audit. So it's great.
Thanks so much for your time, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Mayor Barclay.
Yes, sorry.
So there's two motions that,
Yes.
that I'm asking
Yep.
for too. If we could.
Right page.
Mayor Barkley, I'll move that we approve the 2021 audited financial statements as presented.
Okay, thank you. Any more further discussion? All in favor? Thank you.
I see Councillor Wing is on the video now.
I think she put her hand up, correct? Yes, okay, thank you. Like, we can see you today, Counselor Wing, so that's very helpful, unlike last week. And sorry, I'm just finding the 6.1. Okay, finally found the page. I had to dig through all my pages. So there's also a second motion that council approved the 2021 Alberta Financial Information Return. I please have someone make that motion.
Mayor Buckley, I'll make that motion that council approves the 2021 Alberta Financial Information Return.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Thank you. Moving on to 4.2, we'll have the CAO report, please.
Thanks, Mayor Barkley. The report is there for your review, and any questions regarding operations or anything else. Just a few highlights. Just want to bring to your attention, likely a future delegation coming before council is Community Futures. Director Jenkins and Manager Shaw and I met with Community Futures recently, just to talk about their programs, what they do. And Community Futures is actually an excellent resource for our community. They assist with loans, small business loans, business tools, expert support on improving business plans and marketing strategies. So we had a preliminary administrative meeting, but they'd like to come before you and talk to you about perhaps getting more engaged with Community Futures directly with them. So we'll wait for them to come in the near future. Also, council made it a priority early in their term on council to talk about procurement. Director Vickers and I are currently enrolled in a procurement certificate program, more related to social procurement. We have one more day of training or partial day of training this week. Likely will generate some discussion at the senior management team level onto council, but certainly an interesting concepts regarding procurement and how to leverage procurement to really drive social, economic, and environmental value in the community. So more to come on discussion in that training. And lastly, on April 21st, I attended the virtual meeting of the Alberta Municipalities Economic Development Task Force, and a really interesting conversation. A particular note was the presentation by the Prairies Economic Development Canada, previously known as Western Diversification. And what I was really surprised was of their movement to either establish or have established community economic development offices in those municipalities that I reference, noticing that there's not one in central Alberta, which I made point of, but certainly ties into the community economic development strategy that council recently adopted, and the committee's full bore on their strat plan. So it's really quite enlightening to see that kind of action happening in Alberta. Other than that, if there's any questions.
CEO Becker, are you going to, follow up with the idea of about establishing a CED office here?
Mayor Barkley, for sure, I'm going to be reaching out to the presenter and just put that by. I know City Red Deer was on the same call, and we're kind of waving at each other with more knuckles where an office should be, but certainly made the offer, but somewhere in central Alberta would be certainly benefit.
Yeah, that would be wonderful if it came here. Any other questions for CEO Becker? Could I please have someone make a motion to accept his report as information?
I'll make that motion.
You're making the motion, okay. Okay, thank you. All in favor? Thank you. And we'll move on to the action control, item 4.3. Anybody has any questions about anything on here? List is getting long.
I got a question, Your Worship. I think the list is getting long, and always my concern is we can only do so much too, right? I guess when we're putting on our staff. So I don't know if there's, I like the list. I think it's good, but is there a point where I guess where the CEO gets back to us and says, hey, you guys gotta slow down because council's given too much. I think that's my concern is, and I had mentioned it to Todd last week, is pulling on the reins. When do we have to pull on the reins to make sure that the staff and management team are okay? That's all I have to contribute today. Thanks.
Thank you. He'll let us know. Always does. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay, now, Councillor Bates.
I was just going to point out that a good portion of the red items hopefully do disappear, and I was happy to hear that you didn't add another one today, Councillor Heisted.
Keep your head up, Bates.
Can I please have someone make a motion to accept this as information?
I'll move that we accept the action control for information.
Thank you, Councillor Bates. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, and we'll move on to 5.1 RFD for Southwest Industrial Park.
Thanks, Mayor Barkley. So reason in front is just to review the process for the development for the Southwest Industrial Park. Just to give a quick background on what we've done in that area. So since 2015, there've been a significant number of projects completed to finish the decommissioning of the existing lagoon facility, which included the wastewater treatment facility removal, sludge removal, creosote piling removal, and most recently in 2020, we completed the site grading for the industrial park. Tagish Engineering and Wood Environmental have provided the engineering, consulting, testing, reporting, and approval applications from the start of this project. The town received confirmation from Alberta Environment that the site has been successfully decommissioned and reclaimed on July 7th. The town received a small community grant, fund grant in 2015, which covers 2/3 of these costs for the projects above, as well as projects including the sewer relining, 61st Ave and 37th Street reconstruction projects. One of the conditions within the grant was that the land cannot be developed or sold for 5 years after the completion of the grant. The town has requested the clause to be removed and has recently received acceptance from the provincial partner and authorization to move forward with the development. Although the details of the impact of the development against the grant have not been publicly disclosed at this time, administration is recommending advancing the development of the industrial park. Administration would like to proceed with engaging Tagish Engineering to complete the detailed design and tender procurement by June of this year, as where we will then come back to council with the recommendation to award by mid-June with a goal of having construction started by August and completion hopefully to be completed by the summer of 2023. Servicing costs for the development were estimated at $5.5 million in 2019. Once the project is approved by council, administration will start the steps to draft a borrowing bylaw. The MGA states out steps for municipalities to take when drafting a bylaw and having it approved. The whole process will take approximately 3 months. Some of the financial impacts in regards to the borrowing bylaw, Director Vickers pulled up a few examples. So if we did a $5.5 million loan with a 5-year annual payment would be 1.2 million a year. Over 10 years, the annual payment would be 668,000. And if we took it over 15 years, it'd be just under 500,000 per year. Due to the timeline set above, it is unknown as to the actual interest payments for 2021. Interest rates fluctuate and will be finalized 2 weeks prior to the loan issuance date. At that time, we will know the actual payment schedule, which will include the payment dates and interest amounts going forward. However, we will have to account for the annual payment for within the 2023 operating budget until the loan is repaid in full. So I will leave it at that.
Thank you, Director Kennedy. Could I please have someone, I think we're going to make a little bit of a change to the first motion.
Thanks, Mayor Barkley. I did mention to the mayor prior to the meeting, but also with Director Kennedy in advance, just a suggestion based on council's desire to do this. But if council would consider the first motion, I'd recommend a little bit of adjustment to it. It looks like that motion is we're going in and moving dirt. I thought it should be a little bit tighter based on as per the report, there's more actions required before you would move into actual construction. That is actually tendering the document, the project, and then you're reviewing that information prior. So what I'd recommend for your consideration is that council directs administration to tender the development of the Southwest Industrial Park, excuse me, at the budgeted amount of $5.5 million.
Okay, could I please have someone make that motion?
Mayor Barkley, I would make that motion. It's Janice.
Thank you, Councillor Wing. Any discussion? Councillor Bates?
Yeah, I do have a couple of questions and they may flow into the next one too, but so that 5.5 million was estimated in 2019. How confident are we that that's still in the ballpark. I know we're not, until we start doing a lot of the work, we won't know, but
Councilor Bates. So really, it's what we're finding right now in pricing. It really depends on availability, and more so it is the material actual supply than it is coming down to the actual costing. To say how accurate it's a tough one for me to know. I know we did put a contingency in 2019 when we did this. We did have a 10% contingency as well as contingency on the engineering, which we have estimated out now, which is came in lower than estimated. So fairly confident that we'll be within that budget.
okay. And then I guess my second question would be, do we have any reserves that would be appropriate to apply to this project, whether that be to reduce the potential borrowing or to guarantee the safety of the 5.5 if it does get bigger, that we can still handle it? Are there any reserves that are appropriate?
Mayor Barkley through to Councilor Bates. I haven't taken a deep look at that, but likely there is that stabilization reserve with about $2 or so million in it that we could potentially use for that.
Okay. I'll leave it at that for the first motion, I guess. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Hystad.
Thanks, your worship. Yeah, no, I think Councillor Bates, yeah, some really good questions. I think the big thing for me is messaging with the community that this is, we're thinking long-term with this project, these projects, and making sure that there's ongoing messaging that this is very positive for Innisfail. I know that the 5.5 may or may not be that number, depending on, materials and the bids that do come in. But I think that our messaging should be really key on the future. And, this is even before I was, when I was on council, the lagoons lands was something that we knew that was going to be here 10, 11, 12 years ago, right? So I think it's how we message it to the community. And that's always my concern being in this position, is that we want to talk about the positives that are going to come out of this. As to numbers, they're going to be up in the air until we get those. So thanks.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bates, did you have anything further?
No. Oh,
Your
sorry.
lights on. Okay. CEO Becker.
Sorry to interject, Mayor Barkley. I wouldn't mind, Kara, if we can pull up that Excel spreadsheet that Director Jenkins shared a couple weeks ago. Sorry to Councillor Wing, we didn't send it to you in advance, but it's the Excel spreadsheet indicating items that council talked about, or perhaps even in play, just regarding some significant investments. Again, my apologies to you. I just want to make sure that you just see that picture prior to making your decision, not to sway council's decision, but just to understand, there potentially could be impact on other priorities that you have when you make an investment of $5.5 million.
Yeah, I guess as I said before, the one thing that's missing is the revenue from servicing this property, and potentially up around $9 million potential in sales or somewhere. I'm not sure. Do we know how much land once roads are taken out, Director Kennedy, like approximately, or?
Top of my head, I don't know
Yeah,
exactly what that is.
No worries. Councillor Bates.
Yes, Your Worship, with the comments that the CAO made. Yeah, we did see this. I believe Councillor Wing was available to see this too. And certainly it's impacting my thoughts for the future that, as we make this commitment, I think it's got its priority. And it's interesting to see that even 2 or 3 weeks ago, it was shown as 5 million. Now it's 5.5. That, yeah, it changes the lens on a lot of our discretionary spending and down the road, and even our ability to do whatever we do with recreation facilities, all those things down the road, depending on how big they get. Certainly not lost on me. I understand it. Thank you.
We have a motion on the table. Do we? No, did we? No, we didn't. Councillor Wing, yes, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, that's right. Yes, we did. Sorry, yes. Sorry, her pictures disappeared again, so. Okay, all in favor? Carried, thank you. And then the second motion is the borrowing bylaw. Could I please have someone make a motion?
Mayor Barclay will make that motion. The council directs administration to proceed with drafting a borrowing bylaw for the funding of the Southwest Industrial Park development and bring back to council for review and approval.
Perfect, thank you. Director Vickers, I just have a question with respect to the borrowing. There are some different scenarios there. So for this type of project, like, do you get a line of credit? I mean, it seems to make sense to me when there's, you know, significant time before a project is finished that potentially a line of credit would be better, where you're paying interest only, you're selling properties off and getting that money back in that can go towards the amount borrowed, the principal, and
So Mayor Barkley, actually, the second line in that
Yeah.
is actually an interest only payment where
Yes.
we would only pay the interest. So that's the roughly $200,000 a year. And then at the end of the term, we would have to pay the balance.
Yeah.
At that point, hopefully all of the lots would be sold and we would have the revenue.
so we do have that choice. Like I saw that in your
Absolutely.
report, so we do have that
Absolutely.
choice. Okay.
Yes.
Well, less cash we can use, the better. Okay. Any further discussion? Councillor Bates?
Yeah, just mostly just for us to make sure we remember. And I've got a little bit of insight through my work on the Water Commission that this would come from Alberta Capital Finance, I assume. And just for reference, the 5-year interest rate moved from last September at up 1.7% from 2.48 to 4.18 for April. So none of us will know where this will go, and we'll all see it as this evolves, but it probably won't be going down, and it probably will go up. Yeah, and obviously as this has evolved, to do our due diligence, you know, we'll have to ask lots of questions. So you guys will get lots of answers, I'm sure.
Okay, we have a motion on the table. Is everyone in favor? Okay, carried. Thank you. And we'll move into 5.2 Napoleon Park Playground with Director Kennedy.
Thanks, Berkeley. So, yeah, we're back to update council on the voting results for the selection of the Napoleon Park Playground. So the little quick background in regards to the playground was removed in 2021 to make room for the Diamond 7 upgrade. The town has teamed up with the Variety Club and Kinsman Club for fundraising and assistance with the installation. The design criteria for the new playground was focused around the accessibility and inclusion. During the March 21st Agendas and Priorities Committee meeting, we did update council on the submissions received and provided a recommendation to engage the community for the final selection by posting and displaying 2 options at various locations, including the trade show and through social media. The voting was available to the public for 2 weeks, closed on the 14th of April. As you can see by the results, at the trade show, at the end of the trade show, we were very close in regards to the selection, and the option 2 did pull away at the end with coming in just shy of 500 votes. So it is our recommendation to proceed with the second option provided by Park and Play Design.
All right, thank you, Director Kennedy. Could I please have someone make the recommended motion?
Mayor Barkley, I would like to make that motion.
Do you mind reading it out, Councillor Wing?
Yes, just give me 1 second.
Sure.
Yes, I would
Sorry.
move Nope, that's fine. I would move that council approve the award of the Napoleon Park Playground contract to Park and Play Design for $274,975.83 to be funded from the playground, woodlands area, and Centennial Park reserves.
Great, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, carried. And we will move on to 5.3, the Eastgate Lift Station with Director Kennedy.
Yep, thank you.
Guy that spends all the money.
Yeah, happy to spend more money. Yeah, so here I have in front of you just the recommendation for the construction contract for the Eastgate Lift Station replacement. So an assessment was done of all the town lift station, sewage lift stations in 2021. The Eastgate Lift Station was identified at the highest priority for replacement due to age, condition, and location. Due to the existing location, the lift station also has a very high surface infiltration. The proposed design will eliminate the infiltration as we are moving it away from the road. Replacing the pumps, electrical upgrades to the communications, as well as adding a backup generator, which the lift station did not have before. The tender was closed on April 12th, where 3 contractors submitted bids. Tender values do not include GST or contingency. Urban Dirt Works came in just over 600,000. And Elite Site Services was at 1.659 million. Tender evaluation was completed by Tagish Engineering. Didn't see any items that seemed unbalanced. It is a recommendation to award the contract to Urban Dirt Works. Total project cost is anticipated at $741,670.45. That does include 10% contingency, as well as engineering, testing, and legal survey. This is over the estimated budget amount of $650,000, but the additional funds are available within the wastewater reserve. So, it is our recommendation to proceed with the lift station award.
Okay, thank you, Director Kennedy. No, back in budget, you had mentioned that it was potentially going to move. Are you leaving it in the same spot or?
Yeah, no, we are moving it. We have come to an agreement with the mall there. So we are moving it to, it'd be the east side of the trail now to get it out of that low spot. And that was just part of that legal survey. So
I'm also wondering at a future meeting, because I know you won't have it in front of you now, but it maybe Director Vickers probably more of a question for you. Can you bring to us the difference between, over the last few months, the difference between water used and wastewater bills, so council can see what the infiltration is costing us? And I know we're kind of tagged as one of those leaky communities with the wastewater commission, so I think it's always good for people to really understand that and see that. So Councillor Bates.
I was going to make the motion.
Okay.
You want that motion made to include the contingency? Like the script at the front doesn't?
it would be a recommendation just for the contract value for the contract, because it does not include contingency in the contract.
Okay. So I'll move, the council approves the award of the Eastgate Lift Station replacement contract to Urban Dirt Works Limited for $630,054 to be funded from the wastewater reserve.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Hystad.
Yeah, I just want to say hi to Janice. Hi, Janice. I'm just being smart. No, actually, I do have a question for Director Kennedy. How does Elite Site Services come to 1.6? Like when you have those conversations with them and they're so out of the ballpark, is that because of, where they're located and that? And then when I see the Urban Dirt Works is 600, I know that in the past when we were doing work with the commission, the regional commission, I know that there was lowest bidder came in and then there was concerns. Like, I'm trusting your judgment 100%. I'm not questioning you, but to see it 1.6, that's like it's a lot of zeros. I just was curious where you stood on it.
Councilor Istead, so it's not uncommon to see misbids like this come in high. It could be an interpretation of the project, what they interpret as risk in regards to this project. Could be an experience, could be a number of items of why this company felt the cost is so high. Because we had two bids that were fairly close together, we feel confident that Urban has the scope in place.
Any further questions? Okay, all in favor? All right, carried. So we will now move on to 7.1, an RFD for Chinook's Edge School Division Joint Use Planning Agreement with Manager Gordon Shaw. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So this afternoon you have before you a report that is requesting the town enter into an agreement, joint use and planning agreement with the Chinook's Edge School Division. As you may be aware, the Municipal Government Act and the Education Act requires that school boards and municipalities enter into such agreements by June of 2023 or so. So we have been quite successful in terms of discussions with the school board about entering into an agreement. Most of the work has been based off of work done by our planning consultant. And so they've come up with a standard type of template that can be modified to suit the situation. And so what we have now, it is the completion of those negotiations. And we are asking that council gives approval for the town to enter into this agreement. We are at this time working on a similar type of an agreement with the Red Deer Catholic School Board, and we will hope to be able to bring that forward to you in the next little while here. So we've done a lot of crossing of the T's and dotting of the I's through the agreement with the school board. So we're fairly confident that we have an agreement that satisfies the requirements of both parties, and administration is pleased to be able to bring this forward to you this afternoon.
Okay, thank you very much. Can I please have someone make the recommended motion?
I'll make the motion that council authorizes entering into the attached joint use and planning agreement with the Chinook's Edge School Division.
Perfect, thank you. Any questions for Manager Shaw? No? Okay, all in favor? Okay, perfect, carried, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
And next we have 7.2, an RFD for Community Services update with Director Jenkins.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. Just an information report to provide some information to council and provide a bit of an update of some of the goings-ons in our department. So the first attachment is the Q1 2022 building stats. So we're off to sort of a moderate start to 2022 with 2 new home starts and a substantial industrial addition. So in terms of overall permit value, we're looking not too bad in comparison with previous years. Permit numbers haven't materialized quite as much as we thought we were going to see early on in the year, but we're continuing to remain positive, and we've had lots of inquiries coming into the building season. So I'm not sure if there's any questions on those stats. Well, Kara's got them up on the screen. So the next item, actually, unfortunately, I have to renege on. So we had conditionally sold 4991 60th Avenue, which would have left us with 17 lots remaining in Napoleon Meadows. Unfortunately, that conditional sale has fallen through. The purchaser citing issues with the cost of construction when they've gone on to look into it with builders. So that unfortunately did not materialize. Next is an update on the Hazelwood home construction. So the finalization of construction drawings is underway for the 4 homes in Hazelwood. Both of our builders have submitted some adjusted floor plans. Largely, we've always known that grades are an issue up there. But as the builders got into more detail, not only are the grades according to the grade sheets challenging, but the grades in reality to what people actually built on either side. So the builders have both adjusted the homes that will be constructed. So Kara can just bring up, so Abby will be building 2 variations of this elevation and floor plan, which is a reverse walkout. The Abby, oh, it's okay. So the Abby layout is a, just don't want to make sure I don't get them backwards. The Abby layout has I think it's 3 bedrooms on the main floor, and then the master bedroom is in the upstairs. The true line layouts are essentially main floor masters with the bedrooms in the raised floor. So they weren't able to accommodate the bi-level designs that they had originally included when they got into those grades. You will see some of the way the driveways are grouped along that street ended up being flipped as well, again, because of the grade and how they're trying to accommodate those slopes. So, but we will be moving forward, hopefully within the next week to 10 days with the development permit applications for those homes. So we'll start to see things moving forward. And then just some updates on our grant allocations. Most of council will have either been part of these deliberations or have seen some of the media posts, but the community benefit grant allocations. So the fund made possible through Elemental Energy with the solar farm. Those allocations were completed with them going towards the Innisfail Public Library for the creation of an outdoor classroom. So this is in front of the large windows in the library portion of the LLC. We'll be installing grass and some landscaping there to allow them to utilize that space for outdoor story time and other programs during the summer. The Innisfail music program for new band uniforms. The Innisfail Special Events Planning Group for support with the Harvest Festival. Central Alberta United Way for their Period Promise program. So this is the installation of dispensers within washrooms within our public facilities for free feminine hygiene products. And then Innisfail Historical Society for the replacement of their entry gate. So those were all really great applications that we had through the community services group that we were happy to be able to support. And then on to our community grant program. So to date, we've allocated 2 awards through this program for the year. So the Grinchmas Festival is a Christmas festival that's been held the last 2 years, I believe. So support going to that, as well as the community mural project with Henday Association for Lifelong Learning and the Welcoming and Inclusive Communities. So that is a mural that will be installed on the west fence of the school grounds. The students at the schools are going to be making wooden hearts and painting them, and then they will be arranged along the fence. And then just on to our spring programs and events. We have 2 new summer students in place. So Jace, our skate park attendant, is back as of last week. So you'll see him at the skate park. As well, we have Aiden Dole is our other summer student. He is working at our drop-in programs at the schools, as well as down at the arena. Having that summer student on staff has allowed us to continue our drop-in programs with the school right through the end of May. We've seen really good participation at all of those programs. People seem to be really excited to be back in the schools. As well, we are expanding our arena drop-in programming. So we did start the walking program during the day. There's also a mom and strollers walk. And there will be drop-in floor hockey starting this weekend. So those are all exciting, and we're going to keep looking at different ways to make use of that arena space as much as we can through the dry surface season. Ken can attest there's lots of weeks going on right now. So this is volunteer week this week, but we're gearing up for Youth Week next week, Community Green and Clean, Economic Development Week. We have Seniors Week, we have Emergency Preparedness Week. There are a lot of things happening in May. So making those preparations, some big events for June, you probably need to mark your calendars for the Seniors Garden Party, June 7th and 8th, as well the Rotary Rodeo Parade on June 18th. So yeah, just wanted to take the opportunity to kind of keep everybody in the loop and up to speed. So yeah, if there's any questions, otherwise, just for your information.
Thank you, Director Jenkins. Councillor Bates.
We do have one question. So the mural that's going on the fence, is it kind of considered to be a temporary mural then, as opposed to one that lasts for a long time?
So I guess I wouldn't call it permanent. I don't know, Councillor Dunham may be able to chime in, but the impression we were given is that it will last, a number of years. But yeah.
It's not one that we would expect to go back in and rejuvenate?
I will let you.
Mayor Barkley Jenkins through to Councillor Bates. Yes, so initially with what they're doing to seal the wood and the artwork that's going to be on the hearts, is that over time they would be able to reseal, redo it, because obviously out in the elements, especially with the way the weather is in Alberta in the wintertime and the sun and that, is they will start to fade over time, but it is something that down the road 7-10 years they could recondition them or replace certain hearts if some of the wood does start to decompose. And
so would that be through a couple of two? Councillor Dunham, would that be assumed to be done by the same people that are doing it the first time, or?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
And I guess my other question, would they changed? You scrolled on me and now I can't see what I was going to ask. Oh, the parade. I noticed just looking in my calendar, it lines up with the Day Dental grand opening. So we might have some conflicts there if we're in the parade, but just waving that flag.
Yeah, President Tammy Thompson is with Rotary, so she would be aware of the. Yeah, I don't think they were doing it at the same time. It would be kind of after sort of thing, but no, she's aware of that. Just want to bring up the Community Green and Clean, just so new councillors know we've participated in that in the past, and we would pick an area in town that we want to clean up. We would meet typically late afternoon, early evening, and go clean it up. So maybe somebody, I think Kane always kind of kept us in the loop of that, but maybe you could kind of let us know, Director Jenkins, where a good spot would be, or put our name on something, and we can figure out a time that works for everybody. And everybody's also invited to the Seniors Garden Party. And also, Director Jenkins, what is going on at the golf course? Like, there's a luncheon, and then we're driving some seniors around the course to give them a little bit of a look. And
yes, I don't have the timing. We'll get it to Kara for sure. But on the 7th, yeah, there's a lunch, and then we get to drive around in the golf carts and take people for tours around.
Yeah. Sounds good.
I did have one addition that was quite exciting, is the new pace van did arrive last week as well.
Great.
So it's down at the shop, and we will be getting it going as soon as we can.
Great. That's good news.
What's that?
Yeah, the roller
Yes,
skating.
roller skating is on Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's an emergency preparedness barbecue next Tuesday.
Yeah. Did you want to start participating in the roller skating?
I
or-
will be at roller skating.
Who's in? Okay, Councillor Dunham.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley, through to Director Jenkins. Has there been any discussion yet with the developers with the Hazelwood construction about approximate times that they'll start advertising that we are building? Because I know that I've been speaking to people in the community and realtors, and with the increase in interest rates and with the probability that it's going to happen again a couple times this year, probably the sooner that they're known about, the better. Has there been any discussion as to when that might happen?
As soon as we have the construction drawings for the development permit, which hopefully will be this week or next, then we can sit down with the realtors too and confirm the list prices, so we can start to put them out as advertising, or changing the list price basically for from the vacant lot they're listed as now to the purchase price with the home on them. So.
Director Jenkins, just one more question. Movers and groovers, I don't know what numbers are like now post-COVID, but certainly pre-COVID, they were up, I think, around 75 people. Like, would there be any thought of moving that to the arena? Because it was getting quite crowded, I understand, at the community room.
We can certainly look at that. I haven't heard what the numbers have been. I know they just started 2 weeks ago, I think, back at the LLC. But we do have the walking group, and I think actually Steady Steps or Movers and Groovers started at the arena originally.
I
One
don't
of them
know.
did, but yeah, we can work with Brad if there's an appetite to look at that.
Yeah, especially when, COVID's still around and a little more room and a little more space in there than what there is at the community room, but anything else? Can I please have someone make a motion to accept this as information?
Mayor Barkley, I'll make that motion. The council accepts the report as information.
Perfect. Thank you. All in favor? Great. We'll move into correspondence and information. So we'll start with the Rotary Golf Tournament. Typically, I believe we do a whole sponsor, and usually gets CEO Becker into the golf tournament. And the town has put a team in before, but everybody pays their own way, I believe.
I think what we did last year was a little bit of a hybrid. The town sponsored the whole and we paid part of,
Yeah.
we paid the portion that was the
Even
golf.
CAO Becker.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, we did. I paid my own way. That's how it works. Got it. Yeah.
No, I
I
think,
paid my way.
I think
Yeah.
we all paid a portion was what we did.
Yeah, the people on CEO Becker's team, that's how it worked. He kind of divided it, I think, in between. Yeah, whatever. So I guess if we want to move on with doing that again, we should have a motion.
I'll move that we do whatever we did last year with the supporting of the Rotary. I think it was well accepted. And
Well, I would just say that we have a motion that we're going to be a whole sponsor for $400.
sure.
Okay, does
I'll
that
move
work? Okay.
or
perfect.
whatever. Yeah.
Okay, any questions? All in favor? And then we've got communities in bloom. We have. Can you just scroll forward, please, Kara? Sorry. I think after that, we have restorative justice. So I think with this, speaking with CEO Becker prior, potentially these people may do a presentation to policing committee.
Yes, Mayor Barkley, we had representatives from the restorative justice, historical village, I was gonna say, come before the policing and safe community committee. I think it's a good fit. Certainly up to council if you want to speak to restorative justice, but certainly advise them to attend a future policing and safe communities committee.
Yeah, for sure. It works for me. Maybe we'll just scroll down, Kara, to the Alberta municipalities. So if anybody's interested in this, please, you can either email Kelly yourself or you can let Kara know and she will email Kelly with names. respect to the RCMP and the retroactive pay. And then Red Deer Native Friendship Society. So if anybody wants to come and participate in the powwow, you're more than welcome. Councillor Halstead.
Yeah, actually, I've seen this happen. There was a powwow last year and it was really powerful how they had the leaders come in. I'd recommend anybody that wants to partake. It's actually quite moving. So
Yeah,
I didn't participate. I got to see the leaders do that and it was actually really cool. So
I've actually responded. I'm participating in
Yeah.
that. So, and I would love to see all of council come if people can. I just did the noon one, the 12 o'clock. I let her know we have council in the afternoon, so can't do that. I think that's about it, unless anybody has anything they want to bring up. A lot of correspondence. Okay, then we'll.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, accept this as information.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. All in favor? Perfect. And we will move into council reports, starting with Councillor Bates.
So last week I attended the semi-annual meeting of the Central Alberta Waste Management Commission. That's the commission that overlooks the abandoned landfill that we had a part in. And the short story is they do, and we get pay annually, and they did reduce that this year because they foresaw that they were able to cover it, and it's all in compliance, and we'll continue to monitor for years. And on Saturday, we had a Mountain View Regional Water Commission business meeting where we looked in-depth discussion of the historical evolution of the organization, infrastructure, and proposed future projects. I do believe that the two major potential projects of the Clearwell expansion and the relocation of the inlet, they're talking about down the road, relocating the inlet all the way from the plant into the dam. Both of those will be delayed a number of years, and we're able to run it very, very viably the way it is. So there shouldn't be any of those major capital expenditures inside of 4 years. Yeah, one other thing I saw on my calendar that I had done probably previous to the last roundtable was I did sign in and kind of watch the utilities discussion that CBC put on, and it was not awe-inspiring. It was quite, yeah, it was not really informative. And I plan to do the Sean Collins engagement this week, and as of today, both the golf course and carp fishing are up and running.
Councillor Heistad.
Were you fishing, Councillor Bates?
I was not.
Okay, no. I guess the roundtable, I want to thank CEO Becker. I did get an email from a concerned citizen with Centennial Park and some of the speeding and the issues, the ongoing issues at Centennial Park. I think the big thing, as well as noted, I had mentioned a number of about 8 weeks ago about the garbage and stuff, but the concern there is speeding certain times of the day, as well as the area itself is utilized by a lot of people, and the individual is wanting, speed a reduction there, which is, I think this discussion is going to evolve, and I appreciate CEO Becker's time and effort on this one. I think this is just going to be something that we've got to work towards. As to the email itself, closing the park, I had mentioned last go around, is I don't believe that we should be closing it because of accessibility to all our citizens. So I just want to thank Todd for that. I had Age Friendly this past week with Sandy and Karen, a lot of good work going on there, and I appreciate the work with that volunteer committee with Ron King as well, who's sitting here today watching us, making sure that we're doing a good job. And I was, unfortunately, I didn't Sue Haddo and Cindy, and I believe Jean may have been on. There was a Peter Julian. He's a MP from New Westminster on Bill C 229 regarding hate symbols and stuff like that. I wasn't able to attend. I had a anniversary, but I know that through the Parliament they want to put through a bill, just making sure that people aren't utilizing symbols such as the swastika, Confederate flag, and other negative flags or symbols that would be detrimental to all individuals. So I just I didn't know if Jean had an update on that. And then also, I was in I think it was Olds where they're actually looking at using less plastic bags in the community. And I was wondering if that was something that we've ever wanted to take a look at in the near future. So those are my roundtable. Probably missed a couple things, but thanks for your time.
Perfect. Thank you. And Councillor Dunham.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. I was on vacation last week, so I was not involved in any meetings as such, but I am happy to be back and have several things this week that I'm looking forward to. Thank you.
And Councillor Wing.
Yes, I've been on vacation as well. So other than attending last week's A&P meeting, virtually I have not been in attendance anywhere. I will be back and looking forward to the engagement with Sean Collins this Friday. So I have nothing else to report.
Okay, thank you. So this past week had a request of a resident. CEO Becker and I met with this person just to discuss some traffic concerns, speeding, etc. Also had a business owner one-on-one visit this past week, and had another business visit with the CEO this past Friday. I did attend the anti-racism town hall that was put on by MP Peter Julian. That was recorded. We're just waiting to get a copy of that recording, and when I do, I will certainly send it to everybody. I think, what I want council to think about it, we won't worry about it today, but maybe in a couple of weeks, what they are asking for is for municipalities, individuals to support the to have them table this motion for Bill 229. And the speakers that they had on were very compelling. I know we've seen, and we will talk about it when Councillor Maceras is back a little bit more, because I know she's participated in more of this, but just some of the things that are going on in our communities that we might kind of shrug our shoulders at, but we shouldn't be. And I think what we've seen from our community standards bylaw, there's only so much that we can do as municipality, and we really need a higher level of government to try to have some repercussions to some of this stuff that's going on. So I will keep you posted on that. I had a wastewater commission meeting this past Friday. All seems to be going well. Again, volumes are quite low. Part of it's time of year, of course. And then Saturday, I was at the first female lacrosse team game for the under 14 age group. First female team under age 14 in the Central Alberta Lacrosse League. They asked me to say a few words prior to the game, so I brought greetings on behalf of council. And the Red Arena was about 4/5 full watching this game, so it was a really good turnout, and glad to see the enthusiasm. They played Calgary. The other side of the arena was packed too, with people with lacrosse going on, so very busy sport. This week have the Community Economic Development meeting on Thursday, and then of course Sean Collins is coming on Friday, and that is all I have. So is there anybody online, Kara, that would like to say anything? If anyone's on Zoom and would like to say something, we're in the open mic session. No, okay. Then upcoming events. Ron, did you want to say something, Mr. King?
Oh, thank you,
Okay.
Your Worship. I thought I came today. I love to see that report of the financial condition of our community. It speaks very highly of this council, previous councils, but the administration. It's a very positive. I think that's something that we need to educate the community that that kind of situation the community is in extremely good. Hopefully many good things happen, and I really enjoyed the time on a couple of committees on FCSS and engagement. Taking time to do, but it's very positive. One of the comments I made, Councillor Hystad, when we get the new van, we need to really educate the community that it's not a senior's van, it's a community van. And we need to get out there and tell people, anytime we have a large group of people have both vehicles there, and explain to them the value of these two vehicles. We're very fortunate to have this service in our community. Again, not restricted to me, senior. So, yeah, very positive. I like to think that
Thank you, Ron. and Thank you for coming today. Always appreciate you
if there's options
coming
again,
out.
but Serena doesn't make me work.
Yeah, that's right.
It just doesn't point in any result very fast to get that. Charming Wildlife Park opens Sunday morning at 10 a.m.
Perfect.
See our new baby cat.
Mayor Barkley.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. I don't recall motions to adopt the minutes.
Oh, probably didn't.
Okay,
I think we ran right by it into the audit.
Okay, revert
Okay,
back to
let's
3.1,
back up
3.1, please.
a few pages, a few hundred pages.
I'll move that we approve the regular council meeting minutes of April the 11th.
Perfect. Thank you. All in favor? And then the next, the agenda and priorities minutes. I think I did that last time too. I have to put those in big bold letters.
Mayor Barkley, I'll move that we adopt the agenda priorities meeting minutes.
Perfect. Thank you. All in favor? Great, carried. Okay, and we'll just move into coming events. It's now 100 pages the other way. Okay, I'll just have someone make a motion to accept this as information.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Hystad. All in favor? Perfect. And then we just need a motion to go in camera.
Mayor Barkley, I'll make that motion.
Perfect. Thank you, Councillor Dunham. All in favor? Okay, and we'll just take a 5-minute recess.